What's up, people of Reddit, and welcome to our /AITA, where folks ask who's wrong in their situation. Keep watching, and please hit the subscribe button. AITA for not wanting to pay child support after my wife cheated with my older brother. I never thought my life would end up like this, but here we are. I've been married to my wife for 5 years. After we tied the knot, I didn't really keep in touch with my family much. It wasn't intentional, we just drifted apart. My wife and I were focused on building our own lives, and that's what mattered to me. A few months ago, my world came crashing down. I found out my wife had been having an affair with my older brother. The betrayal was like a punch to the gut. I didn't even know how to process it. Everything I thought was solid in my life was suddenly shattered. But it got worse. When I told my mom what happened, she didn't react the way I expected. Instead of supporting me, she took my brother's side. She actually told me to get over it and said that this is just how life is sometimes. Hearing that from my own mother was like salt in the wound. Since then, I've cut contact with my brother and haven't spoken to my mom much either. Now, my wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, has come to me with another bombshell. She's pregnant and says the baby is mine. Here's the thing, I can't even be sure. We were still being intimate even as things started falling apart between us, so it's possible. But after everything she's done, I don't know what to believe anymore. She's already talking about how I'll need to pay child support, saying that I have no choice if the baby is mine. I'm not stupid, I know what my legal responsibilities are. But I can't bring myself to just accept this without knowing for sure. I want a paternity test before I commit to anything. But even if the baby is mine, part of me feels like it's so unfair that I'm stuck supporting someone who betrayed me in the worst way possible. My mom says I need to be a man and just move on, but I'm really struggling with this. How can I be expected to just accept all of this like it's no big deal? So, AITA for wanting to confirm that the baby is actually mine before agreeing to pay child support? And even if it is mine, would I be wrong for feeling like I shouldn't have to be tied to her forever after what she did? Man, I can't even imagine how tough this must be for the OP. Finding out about the affair is bad enough, but then having to deal with all the fallout, especially from his own family, is just brutal. Wanting a paternity test isn't just reasonable, it's the only logical thing to do. OP deserves to know for sure before making any big decisions. And honestly, no one can blame OP for feeling conflicted about the whole child support thing, even if the baby turns out to be his baby. It's not just about the money, it's about the emotional toll of being tied to someone who betrayed OP in the worst possible way. The ops mom telling OP to be a man and move on? That's not fair to OP at all. OP is dealing with a lot, and OP need time to process everything in his own way. Just because OP might end up being a father doesn't mean OP has to brush all his feelings aside and pretend like everything's fine. OP is not wrong for wanting to make sure the baby is his, and OP is definitely not wrong for feeling conflicted. Do what's necessary to protect yourself, OP, and don't let anyone guilt you into thinking you're not handling this the right way. So, OP is not the AH. AITA for breastfeeding in front of my conservative family to prove a point? I'm a 24-year-old female with a 6-month-old. My husband and I are visiting family right now. My family is very conservative on social issues, and we got into a kind of a heated discussion last night. They were being sanctimonious about how being a pro-life Christian is the most important thing you can be, how nobody has kids anymore, and the people that do have them because they can't keep their legs closed. This really pissed me off. Now I know I'll get some heat for this, but I'm also a pro-life Christian. I told them that maybe fewer women would feel like they had to get an abortion if people like us didn't shame them because they can't keep their legs closed. You can't pick and choose which children to care about. To which they got more upset, saying I was promoting indecency or something. A few minutes later, my aunt said that she'd seen a teen mom from my cousin's school breastfeeding, and that it was no surprise she felt comfortable being such a when she'd gotten herself knocked up. This was too much even for my family, and people started criticizing her. I asked them why this was the line in the sand they chose to draw when they'd been saying terrible things earlier, to which they just said something to the effect of breastfeeding is beautiful and wholesome. I decided to see if I could call their bluff, and asked if they'd be okay if I fed right there. They all said yes, but I wasn't convinced. So after a few minutes I decided to see how they'd react. I unbuttoned my top, draped it off my shoulders, my titties out, and had my husband hand me our baby so he could eat. Some people started getting upset, telling me that I was being promiscuous, that they couldn't believe I'd expose my boobs in front of family, and some people actually just left entirely. I told them that I was simply doing what they claimed to care about most, spending time with family, and embracing motherhood and my femininity at a time when, according to them, the left doesn't know what a woman is. My husband was great throughout all of this. No complaints about him. So what do y'all think? Was this a good move to expose hypocrisy? Or was I just being petty and ridiculous? Honestly, I get why the OP did it. It sounds like OP was just over the hypocrisy and wanted to show them how ridiculous their double standards are. Breastfeeding is totally natural, and if they're going to preach about family values, they should be able to handle a mom feeding her baby. It's kind of wild that they flipped out when the OP did exactly what they said was beautiful and wholesome. That just shows how deep their judgment runs. And yeah, maybe it was a bit of a bold move, but sometimes you've got to push back when people are being so judgmental and holier than thou. It's totally normal to question whether you went too far, but it sounds like OP was just tired of the nonsense and wanted to call them out. And honestly, good for the OP. OP was feeding her baby, which should be no big deal, especially in a family setting. So yeah, maybe it was a little petty, but it was also a strong way to make your point. Sometimes people need to be shown how their words don't match up with reality. So, OP is not the AITA. AITA for telling my boyfriend his D size is average because wouldn't stop asking? I hate talking about this because it always results in a fight. Lately, my boyfriend Bennett, who is a 23-year-old male, has been bombarding me with questions about my sexual past, and it usually happens right after we have sex. Today, after we had intercourse, we were cuddling together, and Bennett asked how his D compares to the other men I hooked up with. I brushed off the question, not wanting to talk about it, but he kept insisting. He promised he wouldn't get mad and said he wanted me to be honest. Like 10 minutes passed of me trying to avoid the topic, but he wouldn't stop. Finally, I said, your D is a good size, but it's not the biggest. He then asked how big the other guys were. I genuinely don't know, because who TF measures a guy's D before ducking them? He told me to at least guess how many inches bigger they were. I said I don't know, like 3 to 4 inches bigger. And when I said that it looked like his heart sank, I could tell he got really sad. I tried reassuring him that bigger isn't always better, and as long as the sex is good, who cares? I'm really not the kind of girl to care about a man's D size. If anything, I prefer getting eaten out because it feels better, and he always goes down on me. I tried explaining this to him, but he wouldn't listen. He started crying and said I should have lied, but he literally kept telling me to be honest. I feel really bad now because he's still upset, and he even left the house for a while. We haven't spoken since that conversation, and I'm worried he's going to break up with me. Bennett is my first real relationship, and the other times I had sex were with FWBs or random hookups. I'm 19, so I know I have lots of time to settle down, but I can't imagine starting all over again. I don't know what to do. I already apologized, but that didn't seem to help. I really wish he never asked the question, but I think he's right that I should have lied and said he was the biggest. Man, that's a tough spot to be in. It's like you were set up to lose no matter what. Bennett kept pushing the OP for an honest answer, but when OP gave him one, it backfired. I totally get why OP tried to avoid the question. Sometimes it's just not worth going there. It sounds like he's really struggling with his self-esteem, and while it's not OP's fault, it's tough to watch someone you care about get so upset. OP didn't do anything wrong by being honest, especially when he kept asking for it. But I understand why OP is feeling bad. No one wants to see their partner hurt. Sometimes honesty is tough, but it's better than building a relationship on lies. If he can't handle the truth, then maybe it's something you both need to think about moving forward. OP deserves someone who values all of you, not just one aspect. So, OP is not the AITA. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. See you in the next video.